Hi, I'm Cynthia Corsetti, Executive Coach and Career Transition Expert. I want to welcome you to the Job Search Bootcamp. And if this is your first time here, I just want to give you a heads up that you're actually hopping into our interview intensive. This is part of a full course. So if you haven't already watched the earlier modules and the earlier videos, I do encourage you to jump back and do that. It's going to help all of this to make the most sense. But in an emergency, if you need to be anywhere, this is probably the most important video of the series, because in this particular video, I'm going to tell you exactly how to craft answers for almost any type of interview. There's a worksheet included with practice questions so you can download it and practice with your friends and family. And I will tell you there's a lot of information in this video. It's all important, so you might want to watch this one more than one time. As always, if you find value in what I'm offering, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and follow me on LinkedIn and Instagram. Okay, ready? Let's dive in. Hey, I want to start by sharing a quote with you that I think is valid and important, and it might help you as you take this career journey. The most common way that people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Alice Walker. You do have power. Your truth is your power. And the way you're preparing right this second is your power. So while I know that this video especially might seem overwhelming, I'm going to ask you to stick with it. You've got this. In today's training, we're going to cover 1, how to listen for clarity, and 2, how to create an answer step by step. Let's start with listening for clarity. Here's what we already know. The interview wants to know that you're the best candidate for the position. And they'll also look for attributes in addition to those basic knowledge, skills, and abilities things that we've been talking about. They'll look for things like leadership ability, what kind of vibe you'll bring to the office, and possibly how you handle thinking under pressure. That means that their questions are going to have these concepts baked in, even if they aren't directly asked. To show you exactly how this works, let's start with a sample question that I pulled directly from a corporate interview guide. I'll ask the question, and then we'll discuss how to listen to it for clarity. Okay, here we go. The question. As I'm sure you're aware, people communicate in different ways. Tell me about a time when you had to modify your own communication style in order to accommodate another individual or a client. That question even sounds intimidating, right? If you were sitting in an interview, you'd probably be feeling a twinge of sweat beading right about now as that question was asked. Because on the surface, it sounds really scary. So let's break it down. The first thing you're going to want to do is listen for clarity, right? So that means you have to reflect on exactly what they're asking. Every question has a reason. In other words, listen very carefully to all questions and reflect. You don't have to jump in and begin your answer immediately. Instead, consider things like, what are they hoping to learn about me in this question? As you consider this sample question that I just asked, you can come to some conclusions. First, the question is looking for your awareness to others. Did you notice that your communication style wasn't resonating? Awareness is a leadership quality. It demonstrates emotional intelligence. Next, this same question, they're looking for your ability to be adaptable. Do you expect others to just conform to your style, or are you flexible enough to adapt to theirs? Once you feel you have clarity on what they're asking, and remember, take your time with this part. You're ready to create an answer step by step. You're going to answer their question specifically the way they ask. In other words, you'll need to recall a time when you actually did alter your communication style in order to accommodate someone else. But don't panic. It might be a client, a coworker, or even someone you coach soccer with. Remember, performance happens throughout all areas of your life, not just at work. The important thing is to be clear and concise. Your answer might begin with something like, there was once a time when, or I can recall a situation where, oh yes, I remember exactly when. This kind of draws them into the story that you're going to share. Next, you'll clearly describe the exact situation you were faced with. Okay, here's an example of an answer to this sample question. Pay attention to the fact that it's a story that I want to engage my listener. I'll break it into 3 parts of the format. First, we answer the situation or task. I might say something like, I can recall a time when I was asked to lead a group of project managers. In my previous position, I was leading a creative team, so this was a larger group and it was a step up in my leadership. I pulled this new team together to introduce myself, to learn their goals, and to share my thoughts. I was ready to build this amazing team and I was excited, but after 20 minutes of blank stares, I began to panic. This team looked at me as if I was from Mars. I was stunned, my head was spinning. What was I doing wrong? Why wouldn't they participate? In these first few lines, I set the stage for the story. I clearly described the situation. I gave them the background. I actually have them a little concerned with me. My head's spinning. I'm feeling afraid. The stage is clearly set, and my situation was clearly described, and I did it without using too many details or explanations. Next is to go to the actions that I took. In my example, my team wasn't responding to my current method of communication, right? And I know that that's the question I was asked. I was asked to recall a time when I had to adapt my communication style. So I used the action steps to tell them exactly how I did that. It might look like this. Action step 1. I ended that meeting. I recognized that something was wrong and dragging it out was making it worse. You see, in this first action step, I showed that I recognized a problem and immediately acted. Action step 2, I might say, I stepped back and I did some reflection. I asked myself, what was I expecting and why was I even expecting it? See, this is a great action step because it shows emotional intelligence. It clearly demonstrates self-awareness. Action step 2, we'll go into a little more detail, same action step. You see, I realized as I was reflecting that I was making this meeting about me and how I thought it should go and how I thought they should respond. I realized that I never once took the time to learn who they were. How did they do their jobs? What were their meetings like in the past? How did they like to be led? Bam! Super answer. I clearly demonstrated adapting a thought process, and it was a specific revelation. Action step 3, I spent some time learning as much as I could about their job. I talked with supervisors in the group, and I reached out to a few individuals that I felt I could trust. I learned that this team is very numbers driven. They like details, spreadsheets, quotas, and goals. And what I had given them was feel-good fluff, which worked really, really well for my creative team, but was a disaster with project managers. The next week, I completely changed the style of the meeting. I asked them which goals were most important, and I let them share their strategy. And finally, we moved to the result. Now watch how I show them how my actions directly made an impact on the organization, how I turned my situation into value. It might look like this. The group was receptive and positive. I learned a lot in that situation, but in the end, I was a better leader for having gone through it. I worked as their leader for the next 4 years, and it was a success. I was able to promote a significant amount of these people to the director level in that time. And I know it was because I changed my manner of communication. You see, this answer is crystal clear in showing a demonstrated results, adapting my communication style. I know you're thinking, holy cow, how am I supposed to answer a question that clearly in that much detail and on the fly? It takes practice. In the member area, you can download 25 questions to practice. If you take the time to go through each one of them, you'll develop a system, a pattern of recognizing what they want and answering it clearly. Let's review what you learned in today's session. How to listen for clarity and how to create an answer step by step. Let's call this a wrap. In the next video, we're going to spend some time reviewing the behavior interview format, And we'll talk about mistakes that people make so you can avoid them. In the meantime, download those practice questions and start to practice. Practice in the mirror, practice with your friends. You've got this. I'll see you in the next video.